Alrighty, so this is the equations review. What's going to happen is I'm going to walk you through some review and then 6 practice problems. And on the back, I want you to use the practice problems to help you complete the 7 independent problems on the back side without me. Okay, so first off, remember, when we're solving an equation is anything with an equal sign. So our goal is always to get the variable or the letter, or the most commonly you would see the letter x, so or the x alone. We always want to get rid of the constant or the number that stands alone first. So if we have 3x plus 2 equals 1, my variable obviously is the x, but the constant, which is the thing we want to get rid of first, is here. The constant is 2. It's that number that's standing alone. We want to get it on the other side to combine it with that 1. So how do we do this? We are going to have to use inverse or opposite operations in order to get x alone. And I know you've heard this a bunch, so let's just review real quick. A says to undo 3x, we would blank by 3. Well, 3 and x are multiplying, so we will have to divide by 3 to get x alone. For B, how do we get x alone when it's x plus 3? Well, x and 3 are adding, so we would subtract 3. Always thinking about how to do the opposite. For C, to undo x minus 3, well, x and 3 are subtracting, or 3 is subtracting from x, so we would add 3. And then finally, to undo x over 3, we would multiply both sides by 3. Oops, I can't spell. There we go. All right, moving right along to number 1. We have 2n minus 4 equals 12. So first thing, ask yourself, what do we need to get rid of first in order to get n alone? We need to add 4 to both sides. So as I am doing this on my board, I want you to be writing down the problem on your paper and asking yourself the same questions that I'm asking and trying to stay with me. So again, we're going to look at our negative 4, which is the constant. So in order to get negative 4 off of this side, we need to add it to the other side. Okay, because negative 4 plus negative 4, or negative 4 plus 4 cancels out, so we are done with that. Then I'm going to bring my 2n down. You don't need to draw the arrow. So I'm left with 2n equals 12 plus 4. 12 plus 4 is 16. Now you're at a one-step equation, and we're really good with these, very familiar, that 2 and n are multiplying, so the inverse of multiplication is division. Okay, so we're going to say that 2 divided by 2 on the left side cancels out, and we're left with n equals 8. Okay, number 2. And if you ever need to pause or rewind, again, that is a great strategy. Please do so. Number 2 says 5 minus y over 3 equals 7. And I forgot to mention, if you want to draw the line, that is fine as well. I might have been too big. There we go. Just to remind yourself that it is an equation, so what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Alright, this one looks a little different. The constant is actually not behind the y, it's in front of the y. Okay, so here's the constant right here, number 5. Is that a positive or a negative 5? It is a positive 5, so in order to get rid of that 5, we need to subtract. What's 5 minus 5? It is 0, so it cancels out. And if we do it to the left side, we're also going to do it to the other side of the equation. Okay, so 7 minus 5 would be 2, and we're going to set that up equal to this whole thing right here, negative y over 3. So not just y over 3, you see that sign right there? Very important to carry negative y over 3 down. Okay, so y and 3 are dividing, so we are going to multiply by, not just by 3, by negative 3, because we don't want to have a negative y left over. Negative 3 times negative 1 over 3 cancels out, so I multiply this side by negative 3. I'm left with y equals negative 6. Okay, number 4. negative 4 plus 3y equals 6. Again, the constant is first. You see negative 4 is first. And the opposite of a negative 4 is a positive 4. So in order to get 0, we have to add 4 to both sides. Okay. So what am I going to bring down on the left side? Well, I'm only left with 3y. So 3y equals 10. Next, 3 and y are doing what operation? They are dividing. So, they are multiplying. So I will divide, because 3 divided by 3 cancels out. It's 1, and we're left with a positive y, which is what we want. If we do it to one side, we have to do it to the other. It's like a mirror reflection. So y equals 10 divided by 3. 10 divided by 3 is a decimal, so you can leave it as a fraction if you want. Number 4. All right, here we go with the fractions. 4/5 x minus 8 equals 12. Now when we see these, I don't want you to freak out. Maybe you don't, maybe you do. But we can totally do these. So find the constant. The constant is negative 8. We're going to think of, okay, what's the opposite of negative 8? How do we get rid of negative 8? We add 8 to both sides. Add it to one side, add it to the other. 12 plus 8 is 20. We are done with our constant. So I decide that I'm going to bring my 4/5 x down. So if you remember your properties, you would remember that 4/5 times the inverse or the reciprocal would be 20 over 20, which is 1, if I multiplied straight across the top and the bottom. Okay, so we're going to use that property to our advantage. We're going to multiply every time we see that, like 4/5 or 3/4, this fraction here. We want to multiply by the reciprocal in order to get x alone. And the reciprocal, again, is just the inverse. So if it was 3 over 7, the reciprocal would be 7 over 3. We're just flipping the numerator and the denominator. Okay, I'm going to erase some of this so we have some room. So what would be the reciprocal of 4 over 5 in this problem? Good, it would be 5 over 4. So if I multiply 5 over 4 by 4 over 5, I get 1, which is, how many x's do I have? I have 1 x. So that is how I get x alone. If I do it to this side, I also have to do it to this side. This is where sometimes we get confused. So 20 times 5 over 4. You can leave it like that and do 20 times 5 over 4. Or you can put a 1 underneath 20, because that 1 is understood. Every number has a 1 underneath of it. And multiply straight across the fraction. So 20 times 5 is 100. And 1 times 4 is 4. Now you have a fraction, 100 over 4. Well, we can reduce that or simplify that. 100 divided by 4, that's what that fraction bar means, is 25. Okay, so your answer here would be 25. Number 6, there's not a problem there, but it does say in order to undo fractions, you have to multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, so it gives you an example again. 4/5 times 5 over 1 is, or 5 over 4 is 1, which gets x alone. So I want you to fill in for, if you saw 2 over 7x, okay, what would you multiply 2 over 7 by in order to get 1? You would multiply by the reciprocal. So I want you to write in the reciprocal, 7 over 2. Because technically it would be 14 over 14, but 14 divided by 14, or any number divided by itself, is 1. And that will, knowing that will allow it to be a lot more simple for you. And the last problem we're going to do together is number 7. 2/3 x minus a negative 3 equals negative 18. Okay, so we added one extra thing on here. You probably already noticed the double negative, okay? We're really good about changing that to a positive, but make sure you do it completely before trying to add or subtract the constant. Okay, so these two negatives make a positive. Let's rewrite the whole thing. That way we don't mess up. Okay, now we don't even need to look at this anymore because we already simplified it. Okay, so now let's start fresh with this new equation. Where's your constant? Your constant is 3. It's a positive 3. So we want to get 0. We subtract 3 on both sides. We get negative 21 equals, and let's bring down our 2/3 x. All right, so we see we have a fraction here. I want to think about what we just said in number 6. In order to get x alone, multiply by the reciprocal. So what is the reciprocal of 2/3? It is 3/2. Okay, so that cancels out, and you multiply the other side by 3/2 as well. I'm going to put 1 underneath my negative 21 and multiply straight across. Now I kind of ran out of room, so I'm going to write it over here. But negative 21 times 3 is negative 63, and then 1 times 2, just multiplying straight across, is 2. Okay, so this can't be reduced. It's a decimal like negative 31.5, so you can leave your answer like this, or you could write it as negative 31.5. All right, so on the back, numbers 1 through 7 are for you to try. Once you are done, raise your hand. You can have it checked. If you still have additional questions, please ask. But I really want you to practice using what we did on the front because all of the problems are very similar to that. Okay? All right, go forth and you will do great.